Here we have the Cloudlifter CL2 mic activator from Cloud Microphones. And what this is, the way to think of it, is sort of like a preamp. And I say that because there are no controls on this unit, and it's meant to be used in conjunction with another preamp, whether that's the preamp on your audio interface or even a standalone mic preamp. The purpose of this is to boost the gain of your low output microphones, whether that's a ribbon or say a large diaphragm dynamic broadcast microphone, which is what we're going to test it with, and it will boost that gain up before it hits your preamp. That way you don't have to drive the preamp as hard on your audio interface or on your microphone preamp, and that can help reduce noise. The Cloudlifter is going to give you between 20 and 25 dB of extra gain, extra clean gain, and the actual amount of gain is dependent upon the microphone that you have connected to the unit. And again, the Cloudlifter gives us clean gain, so tube microphone preamps will often color the sound. Now, this may be what you want, it may not be what you want. Another thing the Cloudlifter can do is prevent you from having to drive your preamp as hard, as already mentioned, because sometimes whenever you drive your preamps really hard, they can introduce noise. It really depends on the preamp. Is it a tube preamp? Is it a well-made preamp? If we look at something like the Zoom H6, it has plenty of gain to drive something like the Rode Procaster or Shure SM7b. But once we get that gain up somewhere past 7, it can introduce some noise. If we take a listen here, this is the Rode Procaster large diaphragm broadcast style dynamic microphone in our Zoom H6, and we have the gain really high. If I'm quiet for a second, you can hear that preamp noise because we're driving those preamps so hard. And it really becomes apparent if I use something like compression and a limiter and even a gate, and all of those are on now. So as long as you're wearing quality headphones or quality monitors, you should hear that preamp noise. Listen to when I speak and then I stop, and you hear that noise when I'm speaking, and then the gate clamps down, and you can hear that, right? So let me turn the input gain down. Now the input gain is down around 6. Of course, my level is down, so I need to boost that up with compression and limiting here in Pro Tools. And now the sound isn't that bad, and our signal to noise ratio is a bit better now because we're not driving those preamps quite as hard. But of course, the problem is I can barely hear myself in my headphones, and that's where the Cloudlifter can come in that it can boost the overall output of this mic with clean gain, and I don't have to drive the preamps quite as hard on whatever interface you happen to be using. In that sample, you heard some noise because we were driving our preamps so hard. So let's test this out on the Complete Audio 6. First, I'll connect the Rode Procaster to the Complete Audio 6 and jack the gain all the way up. Now here we are in Pro Tools. I have the Rode Procaster connected directly to the Complete Audio 6. I have the gain all the way up, and I'm very, very close to the microphone. And as you can see here in Pro Tools, our input is very low, even though our gain is cranked all the way up. And I can kind of hear myself more or less okay in my headphones. Of course, the problem is I know that this level is not going to be optimal for the final output. So I will have to boost it, which I'll go ahead and do that now. And as you can tell now, it sounds more or less okay. But of course, these are not optimal levels. I'm having to stay very, very close to the microphone. Now, in the case of the Complete Audio 6, these preamps are already stellar. They have a very, very low signal to noise ratio, so you shouldn't really be hearing much even after I've raised the sound way up. However, these levels are not optimal, and we can get more out of our broadcast or low output microphone by adding a preamp, and in this case, we're going to use the Cloudlifter. Let's connect our Cloudlifter to our Complete Audio 6 in this case. Just plug one cable in. And the Cloudlifter is powered by phantom power. Now, it does not pass the phantom power on to the microphone, so it's safe to use with ribbon microphones or, of course, dynamic microphones, but you cannot use condenser microphones, which require phantom power. You cannot use those with the Cloudlifter. Okay, now we will connect our large diaphragm broadcast microphone, in this case, the Rode Procaster, connect that to the Cloudlifter, make sure our phantom power is on, and we'll test this. Now we have the Rode Procaster plugged into the Cloudlifter, and of course the Cloudlifter plugged into the Complete Audio 6. And as you can see, our levels are much, much better. I have the gain on the Complete Audio 6 somewhere around 9 or so, 8.5 to 9, much better levels now. I'm even backing up off the microphone about 6 inches away, whereas previously we were right in here at around 2 inches away, or right up on the grill. Now I can even turn the gain down some on the Complete Audio 6. Now we're down to around 5.5 or 6 or so, and now the levels are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. Again, around 5 on the Complete Audio 6. Let me take it all the way up to 10. So now we're all the way up, and I got to be careful because I will clip really easily there. I'm clipping a few times. Clip, which I just did there. I can clip very easily, but what you're listening for is noise. Listen. You shouldn't really be hearing any noise. Let me turn this down a bit. So now we have it back down to around, this is around 7.5. Now I'll take it up to about 8.5 or so. And this level here is pretty good. So I can back up off the microphone 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches away, and I can come real close to it and not clip too easily there. I can even process this sound with compression, limiting, EQ. Go ahead and turn that on. And now, as you can hear, you shouldn't be hearing any noise like we did when we were driving the Zoom H6 and driving those preamps really hard. As you can tell, this is a very clean preamp here. Of course, some of that is thanks to the Complete Audio 6 preamps as well, because they are indeed rather low noise preamps. But of course, you don't have to use the Cloudlifter to boost the sound of your broadcast microphone. I could use any preamp that I want, but of course, some preamps, especially like tube preamps, can color our sound, and some preamps might add some noise. And oftentimes what you want for your broadcast microphone, at least what I want, is I want a nice clean signal that's not being colored by anything else. And that is what the Cloudlifter does for us here. It boosts that signal, not adding noise, not adding distortion, not adding color. It's just boosting that signal and making our microphones much more usable. In that sample, you saw that the volume was much higher. There was no added noise, no gain noise, no preamp noise, and we didn't have to drive the preamps on our Complete Audio 6 quite as hard, and we still got a great sound. So again, that is the Cloudlifter CL2 mic activator. Same thing as the CL1, except this one has 2 ports. And again, you would use something like this whenever you want clean gain for something like your broadcast dynamic microphone, whether that's a Procaster or a Shure SM7b, and your audio interface is not providing enough gain, or you're having to drive your preamp too hard, or maybe you have a mic preamp you like, but you don't like the color it gives you whenever you drive it too hard. So in that case, you could also run this into any standalone mic preamp that you have. It's great for podcasting. It's great for recording. It's great to have around in your studio to really boost the gain of especially dynamic microphones, in my case at least, but also of ribbon microphones, and makes them much more usable by giving you that up to 25 dB of extra gain. Not just extra gain, but clean, transparent gain, which makes your microphone sound much better. So you can always go check that out. I'll have a link in the description below if you want to pick up one of these for yourself. That is the Cloudlifter from Cloud Microphones.